Welcome to Surviving the Pin with your hosts, author Anne Swain, author Pablo Agrio, author Elsie Harmon.
Well, can you hear me, brother?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Get started.
Okay. We already on tonight is welcome back tonight to Surviving the Pen. Tonight's topic is I was a father in the pen. Due to the time restraints, we're just gonna get right on into the program, and I'm gonna pass this on to my brother Pablo. And the first question was, how did I do it in the pen as far as being a father?
Man, that's a good question.
Yes, it is.
I got to tell you, man, this is a rough subject for me because, as you know, the reason I ended up in prison was behind a domestic violence situation. And so my son was left essentially without his mother and without his father. And, you know, my in-laws and the side of my wife took custody of him. And so you can see where the dynamics of that situation there were not conducive to a good relationship. So initially, I tried to maintain some kind of relationship with him via correspondence, and phone calls, but it had to be through her, my ex-mother-in-law, and that was never a good and easy way of communicating with him. So I started out having a lot of problems with that situation and trying to maintain. He was only 2 years old when I ended up in the pen. So I think my situation, you know, it goes off into many different directions. And there wasn't really any opportunity for me to really be a father. I was just trying to manage a bad situation and stay in contact. And eventually that started to affect my son emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. And, you know, we can delve a little bit into that, how all that came about as the program moves along. But I just want to let you know that at some point in time, I had to make the tough decision that was maybe pushing to have a relationship with him and maintain communication with him was not a good idea because it was affecting him tremendously in his development and his social relationships. So I had to put that to the side. And I got to tell you, that was a painful and difficult decision. But like I said, we can talk a little bit more about all of that, what was involved, how I got to that decision, and all of that. So, we've talked a lot, brother, and I know you have a son. I've seen a picture of him, but I don't really know how many children you have, if you have a daughter or anything like that. So, anything you share with me in that regard is going to be eye-opening and news to me. So, so my situation was really rough. I'm sure that yours was probably a little different. But we will try somehow to make sense out of it all by the time we get this program to the end.
Yeah, well, that's really essentially that's what this is all about. Being a father from prison is not easy. It's not an easy thing. And
no.
For the most of us, speaking for myself, and I know I'm not, a lot of us with children, we went to prison and we grew up. We began to sort of realize really what we left behind. We always want the best, for children. I thought about on this segment, because I know you personally, and I know that to talk about how.
Brother, forgive me for interrupting you, but you're breaking up. I'm having a tough time understanding what you're saying.
Okay. So let me.
Latif, Pablo.
Can you hear me good? Can you hear me good now?
No, yeah. You're coming in a little clearer now, yes.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that.
Latif and Pablo.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I hear you,
Mike.
Mike.
Okay, I just want y'all to know I'm in the building. I ain't on screen, but I'm in the building.
Okay.
All right. You can hear us. We can hear you. We just can't see you.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So
all
continue
right.
on.
Sounds good, my brother. Welcome aboard.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out. I didn't bring I'm out of town. I didn't bring my laptop or my iPad, and I tried to go on my phone and can't figure this out. So, but I'm here though.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Don't worry about it. I got you. So, yes, again, Pablo, I thought about you a lot, because of what the subject matter is. Now, for me, how I done it, I was fortunate at that time to be raised in a close-knit family that understood how important it was to keep all the children together, right? So when I got locked up, my sisters, my mother, they was instrumental in making sure that I made contact with my children. Yes, I have daughters and I have a son. And that was one of my deepest pains, is to be separated from them, because I knew that I was their leader. Even though, I was young, I was immature in a whole lot of ways in terms of truly becoming, a full-fledged man. But that's the cycle of life. We grow, we evolve as we go in life. We never stay the same on the same level in life. But I knew enough. I had lived enough life to be on my own, to have my own place, my own family and things of this nature. But growing was still necessary, in terms of how to truly be a father. That was a very, very, very painful time for me, because I grew up without my father. And as a young man child growing up, the one thing that I always promised myself is that I will always be a good father to my children, a loving father to my children. And again, not to say that my father wasn't loving, he wasn't all of that. It was just a thing that went on between him and my mother. That's between him and my mother. I couldn't understand it as a child, but growing up, I always wanted to make sure that my children were loved, and they always felt the love of father. So while I was in there, my sisters again and my mother, they knew how important that it was for me to hold my family together. Plus, I was a father. I wasn't just a man that had children by a woman, what they call nowadays baby mamas. No, I was hands-on. It was a family, so they was used to being with their father, doing things with their father, going places, and all the things that I didn't have growing up to do with my father. I made sure that I can be able to do that with mine. And then as time went on, of course, in prison, you know how things go in prison, man. We are challenged on every level, which makes it even more difficult, to be a father and trying to explain why you're away, because they so used to being with their father. I was a hands-on father. I didn't just have babies with a woman. I mean, I did the things. I took them to the parks, and I played with them, and I did dirty things. And when they were scared, of the boogeyman, I would go get them and make them feel safe. All these little tangible things that being a father is all about. When I left, those things was deeply imprinted in my mind because I grew up without a father. And one of the things that I always promised myself is that I will always, always love my children and always, always let them feel the sense and the love of father. And once I was there and start to waking up and realizing, not only what I had done to other people, but what I had did to my children, to father them, because I had made a promise to myself as a young kid that when I have children, that they will always, always feel and know the love of their father. And for 34 years and 3 months, man, I carried that pain in me until I was able to parole. And when I paroled, the very first thing I really wanted to do was to see them, to touch it, even though they was grown. But I still needed to apologize for robbing them of a father. Because, I went through a lot of changes growing up without a father. Walking around, could he be my father? Because I never seen him to know what his face looked like. I'm not talking about a photograph. I'm talking about growing up where you can see your father. You can hug him, you can touch him. All those things, man, that I was denied. I wanted to make sure that I instilled those things into my children. It was personal. And then when I got locked up, that tore me apart because, I knew that they needed me. I knew they needed me. And I couldn't be there, man. I cried a lot of silent tears, man. I'm man enough today to admit, I cried a lot of silent tears and visible ones too.
Well, don't feel bad, because I cried a lot too about this situation, and as you can imagine, I mean, and you just touched a nerve there when you said that one of the first things you wanted to do when you parole was to go hug your children and apologize, and I feel you on that. Now imagine my situation when I got my parole papers and I started reading them. One of the conditions of parole was that I could not get in touch with my son. Yeah. And I read that, and I know I'm about 48 hours, 72 hours out of the pen. I got to go report to see this man, check him, let him know that I'm out and I'm where I'm at. And I just felt strongly about that language that as soon as I sat in front of him, I brought it up and I said, hey, man, I can't understand this. I mean, how can this be? That's my son. You mean to tell me I cannot reach out to him and try to mend fences or do something to try to reconnect with him? And they said no. And the way they explained it to me was that he would have to reach out to them in an official capacity and request communication and contact with me before they could give their blessings on that. For the first, all the way up until I was released from parole, I wasn't able to get in contact with him. Can you believe that? I mean,
yes, I can believe it because I went through, some.
So this, and then you said your family helped you to maintain contact with your children because they understood how important it was. So, look, we have similar backgrounds, you know, fatherless and really no role models to teach us to teach us or to tell us how, you know, how to be a father. And, you know, one of the reasons why I found myself involved in this relationship was because I was trying to prevent my son from growing up in the same conditions that I did. I wanted to give him a stable home environment and two parents. And I ended up doing the total opposite of that, as you know. And so, I mean, it's just the motivation was there, but the end result was not the one that we had anticipated. And then, of course, no support whatsoever while I was in fact, if anything, the people on the outside was trying to prevent us from being in contact with one another. So I don't know that I had the opportunity, Latif, to really be a father. You know, I'm just a father in the biological sense. And today I find myself in the unenviable position of trying to remedy that situation, but I'm running out of time. I mean, the time, the passage of time is so great that even though the boy is giving me a chance to come back into his life and the surface, there is no deep contact. There's no substance to the relationship. You know, right now we have a relationship that is limited to texting once or twice every 2 weeks, and that's it. I mean, and it's just a short text. How you doing, Pops?
Can I say? Can I say something?
Yeah. Go ahead, jump in, Mike.
Your relationship, right, with your son, right? As you saying this, I'm relating that to my relationship with my father, right? You know, I'm not gonna say my father was, you know, wasn't around. My father tried, but my father and my mother wasn't together. So, you know, a lot of things was difficult. And then there was a time where I didn't want to be not around my father, but not around his environment, right? So what I'm hearing with you and your son is what I'm like I said, I'm related to me and my father, right? You said that you know you don't think you ever had a chance to be a father, only in the biological sense, right?
Right.
Well, even in that capacity, you are his father. Like nothing, not even prison time can take that away from you, right? But when, like my father, and I'm gonna use the I in this. I'm gonna use the I statement in this. I'm not gonna say you. I'm gonna say I, right? With me and my father's relationship, right? My father, I found it. I came home in 2021. I came home at 47 years old, right? But I caught times when my father was still trying to treat me like I was 15 or 14 or 13 or 12 or 10, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So we had to recognize that, like, dude, I'm grown, right? So
right.
Yeah, what you saying, you're saying that you are my father. I know that you're my father, but and this is my take on parenthood and a child, right? It becomes a time when the parent is forever the parent, but now you're no longer my protector. You're no longer you're no longer my, hey, come sit on my lap, let me tell you a story. You're no longer that. Now it's about a relationship between two men that has a common denominator of being a son and a father, right? So with that, I look to build that type of relationship with my pops, where, first of all, bro, let's see each other as men, because I missed the chance to be the child that you wanted. You missed the chance to be the rub me on the top of the head. Come on, son, let's go do this. We missed that.
Right.
Right? And so let's just start where we at. Let's build on what we got. Let's not live the past, because that's only going to hurt me and you. Let's not
I
talk
feel
about.
you.
Yeah,
I
let's
feel
not.
you on what you're
Let's not
saying,
talk
and
about
that's
what's
the thing I
missing.
need to adjust to. Because I have
Yeah,
to
let's
understand
not.
that he. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead. I'm cutting you out.
No. I mean, it's perfectly fine. We're in the yard right now, bro. We walking around the loop. We having a conversation. So, my advice to you, because I hear my pops in you. I hear my pops in you. You old enough to be my pops, right?
Yes,
So,
sir.
my advice to you as a friend, as an advisor, as whatever, is take it where it's at. Don't keep apologizing. You don't apologize enough.
Right. See, and thanks. I appreciate that advice. And see, those are the things that I struggle with. Like I said, I missed out on so much, and now that I met him, and I met my grandchildren, I realized that he is a grown man, and he is a successful man, an accomplished man, and he did that on his own. And so I have to recognize that, I have to figure out where the relationship is and meet him there. Not coming from the perspective that, I'm the wise one and the one who's going to be providing advice and helpful hints and this, that, and the other. But no, I'm dealing with a grown man. He's got a family, and I got to stay out of his way, and then embrace him and meet him in those particular areas where he may need some assistance. He may even ask for it. Right now, he's not asking for anything. He's just saying, I recognize you. You're my pops. And, whenever we have time, we'll get together, maybe go to a basketball game. But don't think for a second that I need you or that you have to be part of my life every day in order for me to feel fulfilled. And so sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow, because I'm still in that vein subconsciously, where I'm trying to make up for lost time. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah, most definitely. And it's a tough pill to swallow, because you, like you say, you trying to make up for lost time, but you see what I'm saying? What you trying to make up for is the pain you felt, right? And what he's got a wall up for is the pain he felt. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
While you was in prison, while I was in prison, while Latif was in prison, we felt pain. That a lot of times them letters we wrote, you know what I'm saying? Them phone calls we called home to talk to our kids. A lot of times them kids read them letters. Sometimes they didn't. Sometimes they didn't want to hear it, because they looking at it like, not understanding, my mama's here. Why you not here?
Yeah.
I'm being a devil's advocate right here, because why? Because my relationship with my kids. First of all, I got my oldest daughter. Let me tell you a little bit about my experience in prison, going through the emotions of wanting to be a father, wanting to be in my kids' life, want my kids to understand that I did what I was doing to try to be a better man for you. I did what I was doing to try to take care of you, to try to get in a financial position the way I can take care of y'all, right? But my first daughter, she's not been able to speak all her life. Whoa. Right? She talks with her eyes and a smile. That's how she talks, right? So I only can imagine, because my second daughter, after her, she don't play the radio. She lets it be known. Like, I would have rather had you here than you trying to do all this extra. And I went through from 2000 when I caught my bid, the last one. I caught my bid in 2009. I went from 2009 talking to her for the last time until 2012 when she finally accepted my call.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I go ahead and say, that's my favorite child.
Yeah.
My middle child is my favorite child. And I don't want nobody to feel a certain way about that. I'm just being real. That's my favorite child, right? And they say parents don't favor their children. That's a lie. But that's my favorite child, right? Because I wanted so much to be with her growing up. I wanted so much to be with her growing up because I missed the opportunity with my first one.
Yeah.
So we sit in prison, and we, you know, the moments when we think about our babies, we beat ourselves up because now we becoming men, and we realizing that, damn, that's my responsibility. I created that, and now it's up to a panel of people, or the end of this sentence, before I can get back out there and express to her how I felt in the time that I was missing out of your life. Right? But that's just our feelings. We're not taking to court their feelings.
Yeah.
They grew cold inside. Because our selfish ass wasn't there. I'm just
say something.
I don't. Give me a second. I'm finna pass.
Okay.
I'm just gonna
Yeah, go ahead. Go on. Take your time.
I don't sugarcoat. I'm a realist. I come straight up the gut, man. I don't sugarcoat nothing. Everybody in prison are the most selfishest people on this earth. And I say that because you didn't have to do what you did. Knowing that you had responsibilities in the world. Don't feel good. It don't feel good to say it. It don't feel good to hear it. It don't feel good to accept it and make me want to fight myself because I'm seeing it and I know it's the truth.
Well, you know, what you just said now, Mike, that's those are all the classic signs of growing from boy to man. Growing from a boy to a man. I'm talking about in your mind. Because once you get to the point to where, you know, you can hold yourself accountable for the things that you know, that's most important. And when you reach that point to where you really truthfully are going to hold yourself accountable, that's when you start to becoming into your manhood. For real. I'm talking about on a mental level. I'm not talking about physically and chronologically, because you got a whole lot of adult children right now. But going back to what we were speaking of, now with my son, man, I'm blessed that he and I have a real rock solid father and son bond. But me growing up without my father, my relationship started out with my son to be very, very special, because I grew up without any brothers, right? I grew up without any brothers, without a father. I grew up with women. So all the men in my family, like cousins and things like that, I grew up rough. I had to fight. I had to squabble, you know, all of that, all the time. You're going to be a man. I didn't have no brothers. So for my son, he was going to be my brother and my friend and my son. All of that capsulized in one. And I had always made myself a promise to myself that my children will always, always know the love of Father, because I knew how empty I felt without the love of a father. I was always rich with the love of mother, but she couldn't teach me how to be a man. I needed that man's hand, to correct me. I mean, that hands on.
But
And I didn't have that.
But is that true? But is that true? A woman, is that true? I hear that a lot. People say that a lot.
Again. Okay, say it again so I can make my point.
That a woman can't, is that true, or is that a cliche that we just been running with?
Okay, let me share what I mean when I say that a woman can't teach him. She can clothe him, she can feed him, she can talk to him about a lot of different things in life, but there's certain things that he's going to get from his father.
Yeah,
That's what I mean by
but,
that. That's what I mean by that. I don't mean that she can't be a mother, that she can't raise a boy, a strong boy, give him good morals, values, principles, give him all the tools that he need to be an upstanding, young man. You know what I mean? But there is something that he most definitely needs from his father. That's why the Most High created
what is that?
everything in past. Huh?
What is that? What is that something? Because I know a lot of great men that was raised by women.
Oh, I'm one of them.
What is that? What is that something?
I'm one of them. Okay, well, there's certain things like that I really didn't talk to my mother about it for. It's like, certain things about how to handle myself as a man, going certain things about going to the bathroom, certain things to keep myself clean as a man, groove me as a man. Those kind of things my mother didn't talk to me about. Probably not because a woman can't do that. I'm only going by the certain things and the way I think, the way I move like a man. A woman's not a man. She can tell him a whole lot of things, but again, what I'm saying, those unspeakable things that you learn from a father, you ain't gonna get that from mother. For instance, case in point, you got a little boy. He's about, he's learning how you potty training him. You're trying to teach him how to pee. He's coming in his bathroom. He's watching you. A mother can't do that. She can teach him, but she can't do those tangible things like that. That's what I meant by that. There's no black eye on the mother or father, because you got fathers that raise girls, do an excellent job, right? But still, there are those little small things. There are significant things that a son gets from his father that he's not going to get from his mother because she's simply not a man. And it goes both ways, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get. Yeah,
That's what I meant by it's no black eye to say that a single
but
parent, mother or father, can't raise a child and the child be well-rounded. But there are all those little bitty things, certain things like I would say this. My daughter, my oldest daughter, right? When she started her cycle, instead of her going and talking to her mother or my sisters or grandmother or anyone like that, she chose to talk to me about it. And I was like, wow, because this is something that girls, they talk to their mama about them kind of things. They don't talk to daddy about that. I'm in prison. I'm not at home. I'm in prison. I call home. We talking. We go into the conversation. Daddy, so she started explaining to me, about her breasts. As they started going, the nipples, the breast is tender, going through all the body changes and things like that. As the body go through the changes, when they get ready to start their menstrual cycle and all this. And now she's talking to me about it. I'm honored, but I'm uncomfortable because my limited knowledge at that time, how the female anatomy really, really works. So what did I? Okay, so what did I do? I go to the library and started reading up so I can be more educated to deal with her about that particular thing. So back again, and I say that to say that when you're talking about that when a father can't really teach a girl certain things, she's going to get that from her mother.
Well, yeah. If I may jump in there for just a second, as I was listening to you guys talk, I was thinking back, not in terms of what my relationship with my son was, because there was no relationship, but, thinking about the things that I wish that I could have done with him, and then thinking about the things that I missed from my own father, who was never there. And I see both sides. I mean, I agree that a mother can do just as good a job as anybody in raising a boy or a girl. When we speak about values and about, being decent and honest and having character and integrity and all those things that lead to you being a decent human being. Now, but there are certain things that I wish that, that I had an opportunity to live with my father, to experience with him, fishing, maybe playing sports, teaching me how to do things as opposed to me learning on my own. Maybe sharing philosophy or history, or talking to me about things that had to do with social behavior, how to conduct myself in public. You know, some of these things, like I remember when I got my first job and they gave me a check, and I went to the bank to cash that check, and the cashier gave me the check back and told me to endorse it. And I had no idea what she was talking about. And there's a long line of people behind me waiting to get on with their business.
Yeah.
And I'm a teenage boy standing at this bank with a check, and I don't know what to do with it. All I know is that somebody told me, go to the bank and cash it. They'll give you money for that. You see, and so these are things that I wish, you know, that I would have had a role model. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a father, but somebody that was a male figure that would have given me a roadmap or taught me how to deal with some of these issues that are particular to men. I mean, you know, one of the things that affected me, and this is real business with me, and I'm not putting this in anybody else, but as I was growing up and I was getting advice from my peers and from older guys not related to me in my neighborhood about the relationship between men and women, I'm going to tell you that everything that I was getting from them was bad. You know, I was being taught and educated to mistreat women, to objectify women, to use women for my own pleasure. I was never taught to see women as a partner, as an equal, as someone that you could build a relationship with, and someone who deserved respect and admiration, and to be treated with decency. I mean, and some of these things were planted in my head by people that I didn't even know. They might, for all I know, they might have been playing games or just experimenting with my young self, and I took those advice to heart, and it led to me engaging in a pattern of behavior that I didn't see anything wrong with lying to women. For instance, telling them things that I believe they wanted to hear just so that I could have sex with them. And I don't mean to disrespect anybody, but I'm just keeping it real. And then once I got what I wanted, I would just move on and went back and told the story and laughed about it, and everybody thought it was cool, and it was not cool. That's not the kind of thing that you do. And I'm pleasantly surprised to see that my son did not inherit any of those traits, because my father was like that. He was a Rolling Stone. Even though I never spent a day of my life with him and never saw him in action, you know, I inherited a lot of those characteristics. And I'm happy to say that my son is a different kind of a man. He's married and he's stable, and he's not into that kind of business. And I don't know where he got that or who gets the credit for it. I just know that it wasn't me. So that's the reason why I say it could go either way. I mean, the father doesn't have to be in your life necessarily for you to learn these things. But I'm just saying that I wish that I had, and that I think that my life would have been different. Maybe a myth, maybe a fantasy, maybe that's not the case at all. But I do really feel that, and I wish that I'd have had that opportunity to do it with my son, to pass on to him some of the wisdom that I developed over the years, experiences that I had, trial and errors, things that worked, things that didn't work. And I never got a chance to do that. And today, that's part of the adjustment that I got to make in my relationship with him. That, you know, now that I'm back in his life, he's not a little boy anymore. He's a grown man, and he knows how to do his own things. And sometimes when I see him doing things, like for instance, if we go to a basketball game and he orders liquor, I can't say to him, son, but you're driving. I got to say, well, he must know what he's doing. Now, if he becomes impaired, I might say something, but I can't tell him, be careful, don't drink because you're driving. I mean, he's probably been doing that long before he even came to see me. So I just got to observe and make sure that if I'm going to say something, that I say it in a manner that doesn't come across as, hey, I'm trying to tell you how to live your life now, 30 something years later. And because that's not going to sit well, I don't think. And the last thing that I want to do is to engage him in conversations that are going to further alienate him from me rather than bringing him closer. Does that make sense?
That makes a whole lot of sense. But then let me ask this question here, because, this is something that I always often thought about. I'm sure, Mike, you probably can chime in on this too, man. Give us some of your wisdom on this here. But, I know that I've had conversations before with a lot of brothers, being locked up. And this came up in terms of, another man raising our children, another man, in the home, telling your son or your daughter, what he or she can't do. You get a phone call, now the relationship between you and the children's mother, it doesn't matter. Well, I ain't gonna say it doesn't matter, but just say, the relationship with the mother is not that great, because when you go to prison, the whole family, structure breaks down.
Yes.
Some can hold it together for long periods of time. Some of them can hold it together for short periods of time. All depends on how tight, the bond was and the relationship was before you even came to prison. But you got children, you know what I mean? And now you coming. And sometimes, man, we wasn't all the way on top of our square, truly, really being responsible, taking care of the household truly the way they should be. Now, we might have thought in our mind we was, and some of us probably was doing it. But the fact of what we was doing and how we was getting our money causes us to be on the other side of the game, which is in the penitentiary. And when you in there, man, now it's another whole different process. Now you're wondering what your woman doing, who she with, especially if you get some time. Well, she ain't yours no more. In your mind, she is. You're trying to hold on to something that you don't have anymore. You got children by her, so now that's your stronghold. That's what keeps you connected, right? Now, she may decide to move on, or maybe decide, look, man, I got to do what I need to do to make ends meet or to keep the household together. And whether you agree with her method or not, still, that's what's going on. Ain't nothing you can do. You get this phone call or this letter, right? And it goes like this: is another man in the household now doing the things that you used to do, So my question is to anyone: have you ever considered another man raising your child due to the fact that you may be gone for a while? You can't do the things you do because, say if you and the children's mother is no longer together, or your own terms, or you ain't gonna be there. You can't do anything else. You know what I mean? Or you cool with the situation. Are you good with another man raising your child? How you feel about that?
For me, I had to endure that. I had to accept that because I didn't have no say so in her decisions, of what she was gonna do. Because for one, we was kids, right? I other than my son, which is my latest child, I made my prior two kids while I was a child, pretty much.
Right.
So we was kids, right? So I think I was 18, she was 16. I left, went to prison in 1,100 miles away. So her decision of, once a woman have a child, like, yeah, you might got people around you gonna help you, but at the end of the day, that child is your responsibility, right? Absolutely. And then some parents, they busy living their life, so they might buy the baby some here and there, but they busy living their life. So, I think at the time she made the decision that was right for her, right? So, it for years I fought that. I dealt with that for years. That hurt for years, because like the love I felt for her was like no love I ever felt in my life, right?
Right.
So was I all right with it? No. Did I have to accept it? Yeah. But we wasn't, it's man, it's so much about this question that y'all that the topic tonight. This conversation can go on for the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's a book. Yeah,
This can go on for the rest of the year because this is one of the biggest things that parents go through.
Yeah.
In prison, right?
Yeah.
It's such an emotional topic, right? Because none of us pretty much wanted to discard our children. None of us did not really want to be responsible for our children, right? But there was things that happened that made us do the things that we did, right? So my children, man, they're my rock. They're my life. Like I love having my children around me every day. I want all my babies. Bring all of them. The grandbabies, bring all of them. You know, and I father in my own way, but man, I just want them around me because there's so much because there's so much that I missed. There's so much that we missed, and I can't say enough about how important it is for everybody to know what goes on. Don't think that because somebody's in prison that they just in there just BSing.
Yeah.
Don't think that, because these are people and we have feelings and we know we made a mistake.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We know that some of us know we're mentally off.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, indeed.
Some of us, we don't need a doctor to tell us that. We know that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But a lot of us are people who figure out how to do it on our own.
Right.
A lot of us are people who God made that can endure a lot more than the average person can. But there's certain elements about us that when you bring them up, it breaks us down, and our children are one of them. For me, my kids mean everything to me.
Absolutely.
Everything.
Well, you know, and
Everything.
you know, in my particular situation, my son was raised by his grandmother, and I believe, I don't know this the whole story, but I believe that at some point in time, while he was still living with her, she married. She'd been married several times, and she married this man, and he became part of my son's life. Now I don't know how much influence or how much parenting he did during the time that he was married to my son's grandmother, but eventually that relationship dissolved, and he was back to just being his own person under the parenting of his grandmother. But you know, whichever way it went with him, you know, again, I am pleasantly surprised that he turned out to be a good man and a good kid, and that's a good thing. But I concur with the pain and the misery and the mistakes and all the things that Mike alluded to, that we live with in prison, that some of us do a good job at masking and pretending that it doesn't bother us, and that we're okay, but we're not okay, and the proof is in the pudding. And and so these are the things now that in my particular situation, and this is, as Mike say, an I message. These are the things that I'm trying to come to grips with now. That, you know, how do I transition into this new relationship with new rules, new ways of thinking, and trying to meet him where he's at, that being a grown man with children himself, and having two kids, and so one of the things that I feel strongly, and I'm glad that Mike brought it up, is that in spite of everything that has happened and where the relationship stands right now, I'm here to tell you, man, that uh, I love and care for that boy so much, man, that I wouldn't want to hear that somebody tried anything or did something to him uh, that hurt him, because whether or not he feels strongly about my parenting skills, or whether or not I am a true dad to him, that doesn't change the fact that I love him more than life itself. And there's nothing that I wouldn't do for him. And in my current relationship with him, that's the message that I bring. That every chance that I get to be with him or to speak with him, I try to keep it simple. The only thing that I want to keep repeating to him is that I love him, and I'm here if he needs me. If there's anything that I can do to help him or to get by or to advise or counsel anything, if he needs me, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere, but I'm not going to push. I'm not going to try too hard, and I'm not going to make myself, a nuisance. I'm just going to tell him and keep telling him that I love him, and that in any circumstance, whatever it is, that he can count on me, and that he can know this for a fact, that I'm not going to lead him wrong. I'm not going to let anybody hurt him, and I'm never going to put him in jeopardy about anything that I do or watch him get into a wreck while I'm standing by. And I hope that one day, if not now, that message will resonate with him, and he'll come to understand what I mean. And I think that he can, because as you all know, man, this life is a tough life, man. And every corner that we turn, we meet people, we encounter people on our daily basis that we don't know what their intentions are. We don't know what they have up their sleeve. We don't know if they wish us well or if they try to harm us. And even at this late stage in the game, at my age, I still don't know when I meet someone what their true intentions are. And I can only imagine that, he is probably experiencing the same feelings. So I want and I hope that message would get through to him, so that he knows that in me, if nobody else, in me, he has somebody he can trust completely, and that henceforth, I don't plan on doing anything to let him down. So
Yeah.
Let me say this, because we're running out of time.
You are.
No, I'm just going to say one thing. This program is a very, very impactful segment, and God willing, this is what we want it to be. And let's just pray that in his masterful plan, that your son, your king's son, is touched, and his heart is softens, and he's massaging it enough to know that my father, yes, he made mistakes. And in his own life, he realizes that he too error and make mistakes in life. And that the only thing you really truly want your king's son to know is, son, look here, man, I made a major, major mistake. Please give me an opportunity, man, to love you. Right. That's all I want you to know, man, is that, what Amen. I did, man, it was something that happened then that I will carry that pain with me for all my life, son. But I want you to know, man, that I love you, man. Please give me the opportunity to be a father to you. And God willing, he would get that message, man. So we're going to pray on that, man. I know we're out of time,
sir.
Mike, so I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Brother. Thank you. I appreciate those kind words, man. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you hear it raw from, three brothers all together. We have a collective of almost 200 years prison time served. And this is on, surviving the pen with, the brother Latif, brother Pablo, and M. Swain. Meet us every Wednesday at 8 o'clock, same time, same channel. We'll see y'all next week. Thank you for listening.
Yeah. Happy born day, Pablo. Happy born day, man. Turn up with your wife, boy.
Thank you, brother. I'm going to hit the town, paint the town red now.
All right.